You got to be real careful with this heavy, high-intensity stuff. I may have mentioned it to you before, but what I'm beginning to see a lot more clearly is just how demanding this stuff is. Arthur Jones said years ago that for every slight increase in intensity, there has to be a disproportionate decrease in volume. And he was not joking. This high-intensity stuff places a demand on the body of an order that is phenomenal. If you were to draw a line, John, a horizontal line from left to right across a page of paper, with that line representing zero effort,
right?
And then off of that line, graph your daily effort output. You get up in the morning, you take a shower, you scrub yourself down, you dry yourself, you walk to the car, you climb some steps to go into the building, you push a pencil. The graph representing that kind of effort output would barely leave the flat line. It would be a little squiggly sine wave. Then all of a sudden you go into the gym and you perform a heavy set of partial bench presses or a set of heavy Nautilus laterals, whatever. All of a sudden that little squiggly line starts to take off in a vertical, straight vertical line off the paper, out the door, down the street, and around the block. Now, within that space is how much more biochemical resources are used up. See how dramatic that is?
Yeah, very much so.
I used to occasionally have, and still do occasionally have, people do a second set, for instance, of Nautilus laterals. And I realize that kind of an increase is wrong. It's way too much. Rather than have someone do a second set, what they should do is, rather than a full second set, maybe do one rep extra. When you start making increases in volume, you think you're not doing enough perhaps after a period of time. The increments you have to start out very, very small. Because again, the demands even from that one set are of an enormous magnitude. And I'm beginning to understand much more clearly how precise all this has to be. Science is a precise discipline.
Right.
And there's no way of accurately measuring all these things. But there are accurate and precise ways of increasing volume and resistance and intensity and all that. What I've come to understand more clearly is something else Jones said, that from the time you start training, you should be able to reach the absolute upper limit dictated by your genetic endowment within 2 years, and he was right. If you are imposing a sufficiently intense training stress on your musculature, and you are neither training too long nor too frequently, then you should be witnessing progress not on an irregular, haphazard, occasional basis, but every single workout.
Right.
Now, here comes the difficult part for most people. The general theory advanced by Jones over 20 years ago, train hard, train brief, and infrequent, was valid. There is a wide range of variation among individuals I'm seeing with regards to recovery ability and ability to tolerate intense exercise. What the individual has to work with is the application. Everybody needs intense contractions to stimulate growth.
Right.
What the individual has to work with is just how much volume and frequency he can tolerate. I have asked at least a dozen individuals, I'm going to ask you now.
Sure.
Over the last couple of weeks, if they have not always noticed that even after up to a 2 to 3 week layoff, they come back and they're stronger.
The truth of the matter is I think we've just plateaued, so we're going to take a week's layoff. So
I have noted with all of my clients, I have had clients that were either forced to take layoffs or just took layoffs for whatever reason. Almost all of them expressed an anxiety that, geez, I'm afraid I'm going to lose something. I have had people take up to 3 weeks off, and they almost, in every single case, come back stronger. I asked Dorian Yates the same thing the other week, and he said, Mike, that's true. This is not just a minor point to be glossed over, John. I'm beginning to suspect this thing with frequency has a hell of a lot to do with it.
So are you suggesting, or perhaps, that in future people could train intensely and then back off for even 2 to 3 weeks before training again?
Maybe train each body part once every 2 weeks. Why not? Progress should not be an unpredictable, irregular phenomenon. If you're training intensely enough to stimulate growth, growth is only stimulated during the workout.
Right.
If you're working out too long and too frequently, you will short-circuit both the recovery and the growth process.
So the higher the intensity, even if your workout is comparatively brief, you can be doing too much. So even 3 sets could prove too much then.
3 sets could prove too much. I have no doubt this is the direction this has to go in. This high-intensity stuff places a demand on the body that is unfucking real. There obviously is something used up, and I'm seeing now that there's more used up than I realized.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the biochemicals are. I mean, I know some of them, but there's a lot probably nobody knows.
Right.
This high-intensity stuff is really quite fascinating. If I had the money, I'd like to fund my own research.
Oh, it'd be phenomenal. Is the training program going to include, like, training once every 2 weeks or once a week?
Well, I tell them that I can't issue a surefire prescription for everybody.
Right.
The general theory, again, advanced by Jones, is valid. The practical application will vary because of this great range of variation that exists among individuals with regard to individual tolerance of exercise. I have a 44-year-old client, for instance, John, that understands the theory, but he still wants to work out every day. And after talking to him till I was blue in the face, and he said, I want to train anyway, I said, okay, I'll take your money if you want me to be in the gym with you.
Yeah.
He trains every day, and he still makes progress. On the other hand, I had a young kid who's 21. You would think he'd have perhaps a stronger constitution.
Mm-hmm.
I had him down to 3, or at the most 4 sets per workout every 4 fucking days, and he was still overtraining. You know, just as people vary enormously with regards to height and weight and intelligence and every other genetic trait, I'm beginning to see how widely people vary in regards to recovery ability. Some people just cannot tolerate exercise more than once every several, maybe even 10 days. Everybody is so darn hidebound, tradition-bound. Gee, you got to work out 3 times a week. Why? Because we eat 3 square fucking meals a day. I'm serious.
Yeah.
Everybody is still crunched in by these superfluous considerations. As Arthur Jones once said about another area of endeavor, rather than continue in the same vein everybody else is doing, take off in a totally fucking different direction. It's a possibility anyway.
Yeah.
I think there's something to it. Again, everybody that I've talked to, and looking back over my own experience, and Dorian said that he noticed it too, even after up to a 2 and even 3 week layoff, people come back and are stronger. They can do 1, 2, 3, even more reps than they did the last workout. That's significant. When I see a guy make a 1 rep improvement, I'm ecstatic. I understand that represents that there's something in the muscle that wasn't there the last time.
Right.
That means that the workout that was conducted 2 weeks ago not only stimulated growth, the growth was produced and maintained even though he performed no activity for 2 to 3 weeks.
That's right. That would certainly indicate, as you said, too, the requirement for a longer recovery and growth period for these people.
Yeah.
And yet the other fellow, like you said, that trained could do it every day and still make progress.
I am continually amazed at people who are willing to go into that gym twice a day, every fucking day of the year, and make 0 progress.
Yeah.
People have lost sight of the whole philosophy of this thing. And by the way, my last chapter is going to be on philosophy. It's going to be unfucking believable.
Excellent.